Tonight's show is presented by Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. Get ready to smile.
Hello, baseball fans. You're watching On Deck with Tyler Redmond.
Hey, everybody, and thank you for tuning in tonight. Really do appreciate it. We're, of course, coming off of a great series between the Atlanta Braves. Missed out, no doubt about it. But again, thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. And yeah, you guys, this series was great between the Atlanta Braves and Pittsburgh Pirates, one that you didn't want to miss. And of course, everybody's talking about the Max Fried and Paul Skeens matchup, but I want to take you back all the way to game one, because Charlie Morton was dominant in that game. 6 1/3 pitched, only gave up 3 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts. The Braves offense went along with him. They scored 6 runs, courtesy of Austin Riley hitting a homer, Ozuna having a big 3-run double there with the bases loaded. So yeah, game one, completely the Braves' way. Charlie Morton, he's had his ups and downs this year. This one was certainly one for the up column. And he, of course, deserves and got the win there in Game 1. So the Braves took Game 1, no problem. Game 2 was a much closer game. Max Fried was on the mound against Paul Skeens. And if you don't know who Paul Skeens is, you ought to do some research, because this guy is the future of starting pitching when it comes to Major League Baseball in general. But in terms of today, Jared Kelenic led off the game, or led off the Braves offense anyway, with a solo homer off of Paul Skeens. That got it going, and Max Fried was able to keep it at bay. He only gave up 1 earned run, so we went to the extras tied at 1 after the first hitter for the Braves hits a solo shot. How often does that happen, I wonder? So anyway, you go to the extra innings, top of the 10th, there's a play that gets a runner going home. Pass ball for Daysbel Hernandez. Darno tosses it to him. The tag, he's called safe. It's a tough break for the Braves. But man, oh man, is Brian Snicker getting good at the replay reviews, because he asked for one and it got turned over. I think that's one of the best challenges that you'll see. It was so close and just so awkward of a slide. It doesn't happen very often, and it was really a positive for the Braves, because that could have easily went the other way had replay review not been a factor. But then in the bottom of the 10th, Adam Duvall, with a runner placed on second, hits a walk-off double. The Braves win it 2-1. They win a close one there. It's a rarity that you see the Braves even play in close games, and now you see them win a 2-1 pitcher's duel between Max Fried and Paul Skeens. That one lived up to the hype. Max Fried versus Paul Skeens. We were all kind of excited to see it. And, of course, now that we have it, of course, again, lived up to the hype. And hopefully we get to see it year after year, because that was a lot of fun to watch. And then, of course, Game 3 today. Spencer Schwellenbach took the mound. 5 innings pitched, 5 hits given up, 4 earned runs, 7 strikeouts. And here's the thing. When you hear 4 earned runs, you think that's bad immediately, and it is. But it was really limited to only a few mistakes. Of course, he hit a couple of guys, he walked a couple of guys, you get base runners, and then all of a sudden you make one pitch that either just wasn't what you needed to do, or whatever the case may be, and instead of a solo shot, it's now a 2-run homer. That happened to him today twice. O'Neal Cruz was the first one. It was a 2-run homer off of a cutter on the inner half of the plate, middle of the zone. It just got too much of the zone. 90 mile an hour, he tore it up and sent it into the chop house. Rowdy Tellez would follow that later. Again, 2-run home run, a splitter in that same location and virtually the same speed, 90 versus 91 miles per hour. It's virtually the same pitch, virtually the same location, had the same movement, all of that. And it ended up with the same result. So it's not a terrible pitch. It really wasn't even that bad of a location, but same pitch, same result, and it is what it is. The Braves do win the series, though, 2-1, but they still fall to 8 games back of the Phillies. That nullifies what they did last night, getting a game up on the Phillies. Can't ask for too much, right? The Braves find themselves again 8 games back. The Phillies beat the Marlins today. And again, here we are once again at 8 games back. We're going to go to break. When we get back, though, we're going to talk about, hey, can the Braves possibly still win the NL East? We still sit at 8 games back. Can they limit the damage? Can they come back from that this late in the year? We're going to talk about it when we get back.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile. Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HTs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for being here, by the way. Really do appreciate that as always. While you're here, though, do us a favor. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. And, again, we're coming off a great series between the Atlanta Braves and the Pittsburgh Pirates, but we still find ourselves, even though we win series after series after series, we find ourselves still 8 games back. Now, how is that? Well, it's pretty simple. As good of a pace as the Braves have been on lately, the Phillies are on that same exact pace, and somehow or another, the Braves are going to have to find a way to close the gap, and that's easier said than done sometimes. So the question is, can the Braves come back from being 8 games back in the NL East? Of course, the obvious answer, I wouldn't run a Braves channel if this wasn't the answer. The obvious answer is yes, of course they can. Anything is possible. We're still only about to start July. It's still very possible. But remember the march back from 10.5 games back in 2022. That, of course, was something that a lot of folks didn't think would happen. That was early June, though. Here we are, and it's June 3rd. Games back for quite a while. I would say a couple of weeks now, 3 weeks. And we gained some ground because at one point we were 10 games back, just like we were back in early June in 2022. But here we are, we're 8 games back. Is it possible for the Braves to turn things around and close that gap? There's 80 games remaining after today. We are past the halfway point of the season. Again, can they retake the lead and get a 6th National League East title in a row? And I again say, we were 10.5 games back in 2022, early June. It's June 30th, we're 8 games back. Some people would say, well, hey, things have happened. We've seen bigger leads get lost, but this Phillies team has been really good. There's no denying that. What it's going to come down to is not what the Braves do against the Pirates or what they do against the Giants in the next series. What it's going to come down to is what the Braves and the Phillies do to each other head-to-head. Now, so far this year, the Braves do lead the head-to-head series 2-1. That series was in Philadelphia. It was way back in March, though, so these two teams are very different, one would assume, after that. I would say both, especially the Braves, though. Of course, they lost Michael Harris now. They've lost Spencer Strider since then. They've lost Ronald Acuna since then. So a lot of things have changed. The next series between these two teams is July 5th through July 7th. So only about a week away. I will be at the finale of that game working not for Braves on Deck, but for my actual job, WRBL, right here in Columbus. We will be covering that series, or that finale of that series, because I think it's a very important one. I've had that one circled on the calendar for a long time, and this is why. I think the path to retaking the lead in the National League East starts with that series, right? Because right now, the Braves have 10 games left with the Phillies. It starts with that series. That's 3. Later in August 20th through the 22nd, you have another 3 games. Those are both at home. So this next upcoming series is at home. The following series is at home. But August 30th through September 1st, that's the final series of the year. It's 4 games, and it's in Philly. That one's going to be tough. No way around it. It's going to be tough. But there are 10 games left between the Braves and the Phillies. That is Atlanta's road to a 6th division title. We can sit here and we can talk about, hey, well, we got to catch up to them by facing whoever and beating them, pacing them. But they're keeping pace. There's no denying that. You're going to have to beat them. You're going to have to hit them in the nose and beat them head to head. And sometimes you're going to have to beat them in their place. It's something that the Braves have done before, although it hasn't happened in the postseason yet. But again, that is Atlanta's path to a 6th division title, the head-to-head matchups. And I know that's easy to say, but let's think about it for a second. If you have a 3-game series and you take 2 of 3, you only get 1 game back. If you sweep it, you get 3 games back. There's a lot of ways this can go, and I'm excited to see what happens. And yes, the Braves certainly have to win every game. They got to win all of them. They got to win against the Giants this week. They got to win against the Rays, the Cubs, whoever it may be. But those series against Philly will be the reason Atlanta either wins the division or falls in second in the division. It's going to be those series, and it always is. Remember back in 2022, what did it come down to? That last series against the Mets where the Braves swept. And maybe that's what it takes this year. Maybe that's what it is. And a lot of people, because that's the topic right now, a lot of people are probably out there asking, because I've heard it all year, is winning the division even worth it? It hasn't worked so far in the Braves' postseason campaigns against the Phillies. Is it? I don't know if that's the case. I wish I could tell you, but what I do know is the Braves' goal, as it always is to win the division. We've heard Brian Snitker say it. We've heard players say it. Their goal is to win the division. And for them to do that, they're going to have to beat Philadelphia not only at home, but also on the road. What about the postseason advantage? And I'm going to use that in quotes. What about the postseason advantage? What about that, right? Is it an advantage? We can debate that all day long. It's never a popular topic because it's polarizing based on what team you root for. I personally think that the postseason scheduling, the postseason bracket, the postseason format needs remodeling. I think it needs drastic changes. I think that, to be honest with you, the first series, the wild card series, should start with a doubleheader. I think you would eliminate a lot of the problems with just that. Maybe you go back to the 1 game, even though Major League Baseball will never do that again because they'll lose too much money. But maybe they could do something, right? Taking a week off for the team that wins their division or earns that spot does not help that team. It is not an advantage. And it's clear when you see a team in the Braves or a team in the Dodgers that wins 100 games in the regular season, and then they show up in the postseason and they look like little leaguers at the plate. They don't look like themselves. It is cut, paste, and it is clear to me that there is a problem. And baseball won't admit that. They'll want to see it play out year after year, and they're going to enjoy the fact that money's rolling in. They're going to enjoy the fact that, hey, we have more games to have advertisers on, have people fill up the stadiums, have people buy concessions. We have more, right? That's all they really care about at the highest level. But at the team level, at the competitor level, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing. I think 3 of 4 of the teams that earned the right to have the week off last year lost in that first round that they played in last year. And that's only 1 year. It happened the year before that too. So I have an issue with it. That's beside the point. We're not going to get into all of it today. It's never a popular opinion to have, to say that, well, or to make an excuse. You never hear a player make the excuse, but you'd be fooling yourself if you didn't look at the facts and say, yeah, maybe that's not the advantage they say it is. Trevor Bauer, I remember a few years ago, he got on here and basically vented about the potential week off in the future and said that's not an advantage. Players don't think it's an advantage unless they're the wild card team. So that is what it is. The other question I've seen is, hey, Tyler, should we just let the cards fall where they may? Don't really try to win the regular season and just take what we have, enter the postseason, and hope for the best. Well, I hear you, but you never want to tell your team to settle and then hope for the best after that. You want them to be able to go out there and say, we're winning today, we're winning tomorrow, and we're winning the next day. And I don't think you're giving the front office a lot to go off of if you just say, okay, well, this is the team we have. This is what we're going to do. We're going to try our best. And, if we make the postseason, great. If we win the division, great. No. The Braves are competitors. They would not be 5-time in a row division titles if they were not competitors. They are not going out there in an attempt to just mull it over and see what happens come the end of the year. They don't care that Acuna got hurt. They don't care that Michael Harris got hurt. They don't care that Spencer Strider got hurt. They are the team that has won the division for the past 5 years, and I believe they want to defend it. Now, speaking of Ronald Acuna, we're going to go to break, but when we get back, we're going to talk about how the Braves can replace the production of the MVP. That's when we get back.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile. Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HTs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for being here once again. If you would do us a favor, like the video if you have not already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck, and of course, with your Atlanta Braves. And of course, the biggest injury that has happened to the Braves this year is without a doubt Ronald Acuna Jr., the former MVP, reigning MVP, the guy who had 40 homers, 70-plus stolen bases last year. Of course, left us early this season with yet again a knee injury that was season-ending. And ever since then, there has been this talking point, this chatter about Atlanta, quote-unquote, replacing Ronald Acuna. Now, I want to take that word for a second, replacing, because I don't like that word when it comes to this situation. I don't think it's fair to use that word. No one can replace Ronald Acuna. No one can single-handedly replace the production of Ronald Acuna Jr. And if they can, that's great, but they can't replace who he is on this team. It just doesn't happen. But when it comes to the trade deadline, what you can say is the Braves are going to have to find a way to add production offensively. No doubt about it, because we are lacking in that department. So when you talk about the trade deadline, the Braves are always going to be one of the teams that you focus on because the history that the Braves have at the trade deadline. You look at 2021, you see what happened, and you see what happened come that October. Naturally, you're going to hope that they do that once again this year. And there's a lot of similarities this year in 2024 that there were in 2021. We've talked about that multiple times. One of those similarities, probably the biggest similarity, is the loss of Ronald Acuna Jr. Early in 2021, the Braves lost Acuna to his first knee injury. Here we are once again. And it's led to people suggesting a similar trade deadline that we had in 2021. I know some of you secretly want Jorge Soler, Jock Peterson, Eddie Rosario to all come back and be a part of this team going forward. I don't think it's likely. In fact, I think it's highly unlikely that all that happens. I don't think it's likely that any of them show back up. But with Ronald Acuna and Michael Harris now being injured, there's no doubt that the Braves are in search for an outfielder. No doubt about it. And a quote-unquote replacement may be needed either for this year or for this year and beyond. I would argue that it's needed based on the way the lineup looks. And it's not like we have a bunch of scrubs in the lineup. You have Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Matt Olson, Sean Murphy. Can't forget Marcelo Zuna. You have a ton of guys there that hit for power, are great for your offense. But what I think is missing, to be honest with you, is someone like a Nick Markakis. you don't have a complete hitter. You don't have a hitter that can get on base. You don't have a hitter that can knock guys in when they're in scoring position. You just don't have a lot of that. I think the closest thing we have to it right now is Jared Kelenic, and I know he's been hitting, the leather off the ball here lately, but that's not my point. My point is when you look at this lineup, it's a lot of similar hitters. Even Adam Duvall is power first. And speaking of Adam Duvall, let's talk about that for a second, because a lot of you guys have gone into the comment section this week on different videos and said, Tyler, when are we getting rid of Adam Duvall? I bet you were eating crow when he walked it off last night. I bet you were. But here's the thing. You can't ignore the issue. Adam Duvall has not been hitting well, before that at least. And there's no doubt about that. But you also got to understand, Adam Duvall is not playing the role that he was initially planned to play. He was supposed to only be hitting against lefties. And now he's having to start against both righties and lefties. And it's not fair to him. When he got the double yesterday, who was it off of? It was off of a lefty, right? So that's my point. I think Duvall belongs in a platoon at this point for sure. And I hate to say that because Duvall is a great hitter. And, it is what it is. But Duvall has never been a 300 hitter. He's never been a guy that's going to give you a 340 batting average at the end of the year. He's a guy that's going to hit 25 homers and hit around 200. It just is what it is. But it's much more noticeable when the lineup is not working as planned. It just is what it is. Now, in terms of replacement, in terms of who can come in and replicate what Ronald Acuna left behind, there are some names out there for sure that are drawing interest. It all really depends on what you want. We can sit here and throw names out left and right. If you search the Braves on Google right now and go to your news tab, you're going to see about 20 theories of who people think we're going to go get. I don't think that's worth doing. I think that's a waste of your time. The fact is, they need a bat. That's what they need. They need someone who can come in and produce. I'll throw these out there just to entertain you guys. If you're just looking for a pure rental, if you're looking for a guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, nothing beyond that, and frankly pretty cheap, you're looking at a Michael Conforto, you're looking at a Jesse Winker, you're looking at Tommy Pham, Tyler O'Neill. If you're looking for a guy to not only be here for this year, but also next, you got Luis Robert Jr., you got Lane Thomas, former Atlanta Brave with the Nationals. I think you could get him pretty cheap, to be honest with you. If you're looking for someone to be a career Brave, if you're looking for someone to be here for quite a while and be here during the competitive stretch, you have Brent Rooker of the A's, who I like a lot. Taylor Ward of the Angels, which I think is very attainable considering where they are this year. Dalton Varsho with the Blue Jays. I don't like that one as much. And Randy Arozarena and Jose Siri from the Rays. Again, I don't love those, but they're out there. People are talking about them, so I'm going to mention it and tell you that, it is what it is. But when it comes to these names, again, remember, no one, that's double underlined on my notes, by the way, no one will replace Ronald Acuna. Nobody will. Nobody will be Ronald Acuna Jr. Nobody will be the MVP. Nobody will be 40 homers, 70 stolen bases. Nobody will be as electric as Ronald Acuna Jr. when they're brought in from the trade deadline. And it's not fair for us to expect them to be. Even Jock Peterson back in 2021, in that letter he wrote, which is right here behind me, even then he said he could never be Ronald Acuna Jr., but he can be Jock Peterson. So whoever it is that the Braves bring in, whether it be a hitter, whether it be a pitcher, whatever it may be, you may not be looking for one player. You may be looking for some combination that will replace Ronald Acuna's production, right? Think about it. In 2021, who did we trade for? Adam Duvall, Jorge Soler, Eddie Rosario, and Jock Peterson, right? It took 4 outfielders to replace that kind of production. They were all used masterfully through the postseason. In 2024, what are we doing right now to replace the production of Ronald Acuna? Well, let's think about it. Jared Kelenic, Adam Duvall, Ramon Laureano, Forrest Wall, JP Martinez, Luke Williams, etc., etc., etc. Right? We've had a ton of it. We are throwing the book at it. We're trying to figure it out from our internal options. And so far, a lot of these guys have been really good. Forrest Wall, I think, has been really great and has met expectations, probably exceeded them. JP Martinez filled the role. Luke Williams has filled the role. Ramon Laureano, before he got hurt, I thought was hitting very well. They are doing well. But I know as well as you do that we need someone who can start. And I don't know that any of those guys outside of Kelenic and maybe even Duvall are there. You know, Ramon Laureano is certainly on his way back. Maybe he gets another chance after he gets healthy. But at the end of the day, guys, the lineup is shifting. It's evolving every single day. It's changing. We're not used to that. We are not used to seeing this Braves lineup change very much at all unless someone got a day off. That is not how last year went, but it's how this year is going so far. It will continue to evolve. And come the trade deadline, I believe the outfield will improve dramatically. Let me know what you think in the comments. We're going to get to them in just a few minutes. We have one more segment coming up after the break, so make sure to get your comments in. Make sure to like the video. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you could, and of course, make sure to hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile. Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HTs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for being here tonight. Really do appreciate it. We are only moments away from getting to your comments, but I wanted to take a second to talk about a good friend of mine who I know a lot of you guys are going to know. Some of you may not, but I'm going to tell you about him. Casey Motter. If you don't know that name, you know his voice. He intros every video I do. He introduces every stream I do. He passed away 2 years ago today. Casey Motter, the voice of Truist Park, in my opinion. He was the guy who welcomed you to the game if you were there. He had the greatest voice, and I had a great friendship with him. I miss him. I miss seeing him at the park. I miss going to get lunch with him. I miss all that because what a friend he was. I miss texting him through the games and all of that. Casey was great. And for any of you guys out there that do know him and do know his voice, you know how impactful it was when you were at a game. And I would tell you this, Casey loved what he did. He loved every minute of it, so much so that he did it on his own time. The way we met was pretty interesting. We actually met, I reached out to him on Facebook, and I was like, hey, can you please record, yourself saying, welcome into On Deck, that kind of thing. And he was like, what is it? So that's how we met. And I never would have imagined that we would be such good friends after that. He was going through my YouTube and he saw that I interviewed Chief Nakahoma. And for those of you that don't know who that is, he was the original Braves mascot. He was a legit Native American who ran on the field. He blew fire. He was great. He was a good friend of mine too. He recently passed away as well. But those two never got to meet. I wanted to introduce them to each other, but I never would have expected Casey passing away when he did. It surprised me. I didn't believe it. I thought it was fake when it came out. But I'll tell you this. Casey was one of the most supportive people that I've ever met. He spent probably 20 minutes one time telling me, Tyler, what you want to do is possible. You want to do this? You can do this. You want to be around this game? You can be around this game. And he used himself as an example. And I got to be honest, if it was not for Casey, I don't know if I'm here. I don't know if I would have been able to keep that, mindset of, hey, this is certainly possible. And, the last time I saw Casey was up in the press box. He was introducing me to everybody he knew up there. And, it was great. That was before I was officially a part of the media. I guess that's what I am. But that was before that. I'm going to the Braves game next week. I would have never, I didn't have that perspective of one day I'm going to be there, right? I hoped, I prayed, but I didn't have that knowledge of I'm going to be here. I didn't have that. Casey gave it to me because when we were walking around that press box, he goes, you know, don't worry, you're going to be here one day. You're going to be here one day. And I wish on everything that when I was going there next week, I could go dap up Casey and say hello. But he gave me a tour of the press box. He let me sit in there with him and be there in the early stages of the gates being open and him announcing whatever the announcements were. And gosh, I wish I could see him as I am with the job there and all that. I wish I could see him, but no, what a great person he was. I miss him every day, and there's nothing else really I can say about it. But Casey Motter is very well missed, and I know a lot of you out there probably met him through the years at different fan events and things. He was every bit as friendly as he seemed. I assure you of that. When we get back, we're going to get to your comments, so make sure to stay with us.
Are you ready to save big on a new GMC?
At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika, you can own one of the best-selling vehicles in the USA. The GMC Sierra pickup is discounted up to $14,500 off. The roomy and comfortable GMC Terrains are up to $8,250 off. And the GMC Acadias with 3 spacious rows and seating for 7, discounted up to $8,000 off. At Glenn Smith GMC in Opelika,
Get ready to smile. Are you ready to save big on a new Chevrolet?
make your way to Glenn Smith Chevrolet. Choose America's #1 compact SUV, the Chevy Equinox, discounted up to $6,500 off. The powerful Chevy Silverados are up to $13,750 off. And the big Chevy Silverado 2500 HTs are discounted up to $6,000 off. Glenn Smith Chevrolet in Opelika.
Get ready to smile.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging with us. Thank you for being here every Sunday night. We try to do this. I don't know if we'll be here next Sunday night just because I don't know when the Braves play next Sunday, but I'll check real quick. We're going to get to your comments, so make sure to hang with us. We're going to try to answer as many as we can, but remember, Super Chats do get priority. They get you moved to the front of the line, so if you're feeling in a giving mood, Super Chats are the way to go. They will get you front of the line. And, of course, I also try to give you a little bit more in-depth answer when I do Super Chats, just to make sure you get your money's worth. Also, guys, please do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications so that you can stay up to date with everything going on here at On Deck and, of course, with your Atlanta Braves. Joseph Alvarez tunes in. He says, "Hey, buddy, good question. Right now, I don't see the Braves winning the National League East. However, I do see the Braves going on a hot streak after All-Star game." Yeah, that's, I get it. The Braves are certainly behind. You have every right to be skeptical that they could win the NL East. I think even if they make the postseason as a wild card team, they're dangerous, to say the least, because if they break out at the end of the season and you enter the postseason as a wild card team, you beat that first team, and then the Dodgers have to face the Braves, or the Phillies have to face the Braves, oh, how the turntables have turned, right? So I think that either way, the Braves can be successful come the postseason. I still think it's an easier road for them if they can get the week off, just because we're limited in starting pitching more this year than we were last. But even then, it's such a debate of, does that advantage help you? Does it really help you? I don't know, but I can tell you what we hear from the Braves and what we hear from the players, and it is what it is. I personally think that the format needs to be adjusted, but again, not going to get into that right now. In terms of the hot streak after the All-Star break, I think we're kind of on a hot streak right now, just a little bit. We're certainly moving towards it. If we're not, right, we've won series in a row. We've been able to do things, and the offense is still not hitting on all cylinders, but they're certainly better than they were a month ago. No denying that. But I definitely think that you're right to think that they'll go on a hot streak after the All-Star break. I hope that they go on a hot streak prior to it. If it happens afterward, we'll take it, because if you go on a hot streak before the All-Star break, then you got a week off and you got to restart it again, right? So maybe the All-Star break will be that time when they go, okay, let's start this with fresh eyes, fresh ears, and keep it going, right? That's hopefully what will happen. Matthew tunes in. Daniel Berry tunes in. Corey Carter tunes in, and he's got a question, a trade question. Would you trade? This is Corey asking this question. Would you trade Acuna for Paul Skeens and O'Neal Cruz, or for Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz? I would do either. Not sure the other teams would do either right now. I think you're right to say that I don't think the other teams would do it right now. As good as Acuna is, as much of a talent as he is, I think you're absolutely right. There's too much questions of what's he going to be when he gets back. And that's a fair, not criticism, but question to have if you're those teams. And in terms of would I do those trades, if out of the two, I think I would take Paul Skeens and O'Neal Cruz. I just think there's more upside there. I think Paul Skeens is ridiculous. I think Hunter Green is too. But there's more years of control, I think, on Paul Skeens than there is Hunter Green, obviously. Ellie's good, but he's very hot and cold. I like O'Neal Cruz a lot. The power, I think he's hit like the two hardest hit balls this year. I think both are from him. So if you're asking me which one I would take, it would be Skeens and Cruz. But I'm also going to ride with my MVP, right? we're hopefully going to see him come back and not know the difference. That's what I'm hoping for. But, we'll see what happens. Either way, we have Acuna on a steal of a deal. And I'm kind of glad we do at this point, because we're not, think about this, right? Let's say we did what everybody else does and we signed Acuna to a $500 million deal 4 years ago, okay? Or 300 for Tatis, to just even with Tatis. And all of a sudden he's got two torn, is it ACLs? Is that what it is, John? ACLs? By the way, the intern Jonathan Roberson is in here tonight. Everybody say hello. So he's got two torn ACLs now. Imagine we're paying $50 million and 2 years of those contracts, he's sitting at home. That's $100 million gone, right? That's why I hate big-time contracts. And that is what it is. If you're going to give it to anybody, Acuna would have been the guy, and even he's not invincible. So it's a tough thing. The good news is that you do have him on a cheap deal, all right? Because you're not throwing away $50 million. You're throwing away 10, but that's manageable. We can afford that. It just is what it is. Matthew says, Corey Carter, how about a 3-team trade for Skeens and Ellie? I prefer Skeens as the pitcher and Ellie as the position player. In a perfect world, I think that would be great, but it'll never happen. Anonymous says, hey guys, new subscriber, old fan of the Braves. Well, first off, Anonymous, thank you for subscribing. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate you subscribing for sure. So yeah, if you're out there and you have not subscribed already, go ahead and do that. Also, like the video and hit the bell for notifications so that you can be a part of the On Deck community. Anonymous, welcome in. Appreciate you being here. Corey Carter says, that would be the best scenario. Tyler, do you think the Dodgers would do an Olsen for Freeman trade straight up? That's a good question. I think they would, to be honest with you, because you'd have a younger player who just got off of hitting 55 homers, has Gold Glove ability, and versus an aging player in Freddie, who at some point is going to get out of his prime. I think they would do that. I think the deal for Olsen's better. It's more team friendly. So yeah, I think they would do it. Do I want to do it at this point? No, I think we're good on that. Let's see. Always loved Jock Peterson's humbleness. He just did Jock, nothing more, nothing less. Yeah, he was himself, right? I never thought we would hear "We are those" said in a Brave celebration, but then we did, right? Jock was one of a kind. And as much as I'm saying that I don't think he's going to be brought back, I would love it if he was. As a fan, but in terms of logic and reasoning, I just don't see it happening. I would be thoroughly surprised if any of those three, were brought back. I'd be very, very surprised. Corey Carter says, I want to see Wall use his speed more with bunts and off-field hitting. He needs to play more, though. Yeah, I mean, I'm all right with seeing him play more. The problem with Wall is it's tough, right? Because for Snit, you have to choose between Duvey, who can take you deep, or Forrest Wall, who has power, but we haven't really seen much of it this year. And I think Forrest Wall is he's on the cusp of potentially breaking out. I think he's a great player. I think he does have speed. If nothing else, he has speed. he will be on the postseason roster. Make no mistake of that. If he's healthy, he's on that roster because he's your best bet at a stolen base, or if you got a runner on second and you're down by one with one out, you want him on second base. Okay? That just is what it is. Especially if someone like Ozuna or Olsen is hitting, a heavy-footed guy. You want Forrest Wall on base for sure. Let's see. Corey Carter says, if the Braves don't win, it's not going to be because of Duvall and Arcia. They are what they are. I agree with you, right? Like, I saw somebody who was talking about Arcia and we need to get rid of him. We need to trade him. Here's the thing, man. Nobody's going to trade for Orlando Arcia. Nobody. You might can lump him in a trade, but no one's going to sit here and seek out Orlando Arcia, right? It's just not going to happen. The Braves are paying him, I think, $2.73 million this year, which is not a lot, number one, and it's not a lot for someone who's playing as good a defense as he is. And really, when you look at the conversation of who else is there, there's not a ton out there, right? I've seen suggestions like Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who is making slightly less, I believe. I'm looking for my notes on RC. I thought I had them somewhere. Give me a second, guys. Maybe not. Anyway, what I would say is this. Arcia's not having the year he did last year. His K percentage is up. His chase rate is up. Therefore, his strikeouts are up. There they are. But he's never been, he's never been the guy that's going to campaign your offense to victory. He's just never been that guy. He's got a 211 average right now, 6 homers, 244 on base, 339 slug. So what made the difference of last year? Obviously, strikeouts were down last year. Now they're up. Could it improve? Yes, I believe so. But with so many of you pointing to it as an issue, I did take the liberty to explore some other options of just what I think is in the ballpark of Orlando Arcia. Paul DeYoung, he's making $1.75 million, 1-year deal with the White Sox. Tim Anderson, who I don't want anywhere near the Atlanta Braves, he's making $5 million this year on a 1-year deal with the Marlins. Brandon Crawford, he's playing third base though now because he's getting old. He's making $2 million. He's on a 1-year deal with the Cardinals. Maybe you give him one last shot. I overshot it. Arcia is only making $2.433 on his average annual value. He's a free agent in 26. I just don't think the Braves view that as a necessity to get better, right? Unless you're getting someone like a Bo Bichette or maybe a Bobby Witt, I just don't see how you really improve by trading for a shortstop. I think the bats that you're looking for are going to be in the outfield. Because at the end of the day, if your offense is running like it's supposed to, right, you're not going to worry about Arcia hitting ninth and having a 211 batting average if he's giving you good defense, right? Not if your team's up by 7 every game. The problem is the offense is not working like it did last year. And that's largely due to Acuna being out. It's largely due to a lot of different factors. I told you last year that Acuna was the reason that the offense worked the way it did. Because he would get on base, he'd steal, and all of a sudden he's in scoring position. Sometimes he's still 2 bags, right? And now we find ourselves without that, and it just is what it is. I personally think that where we are right now, it's a matter of we got to find a way to complete the lineup. We have the guys. I think Kelenic has found his place for sure. After spring training struggles, he's found his place. He is your leadoff guy. I like him there. He's seeing a lot of fastballs. That's good for him. Olsen and Riley are heating up. Ozuna has been, I hate to say surprisingly, but surprisingly the most consistent player all year. Sean Murphy, I think, is coming out of the funk of getting injured in the first game and having to come out of that. I think he's playing better. He's doing better than before. But the way we are right now, I think I look at it like this, right? I think we need, I said this earlier, I'm going to say it again. I think we need some Nick Markakises through our lineup. Some guys that are going to give you competitive at-bats. Ozzie Albies does it. And really they all try to do it, but somebody that's going to force the issue and, just a complete hitter. That's the kind of bat we need, right? And maybe turn on the bat signal, bring Nick Markakis out of retirement. But if he was your 9-hole hitter, I think we'd be in a lot better shape, right? The problem is Arcia has not had the year he did last year. It's hard to replicate an all-star season. It just is what it is. But that's where I think we find ourselves right now. DP says at least make the postseason. That's all I'm asking. Seems like a wild card series will benefit them. That's not the worst idea in the world. To be honest with you, a wild card series may play into the energy of the team. So, it's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens. Yasuke Knight, I hope I get your name right. I think I do every time, but I'm really not sure. His birthday is Friday. Everybody give him a birthday well wishes in the chat. Hopefully they win on Friday. That's my birthday. Well, happy birthday to you from me, and hopefully they do get you a win. Let's see. John Ham says the batting order and bench is much too weak to overcome Philly. I don't know about that. I think, it's a long season. Philly is looking really good. I still don't think they've played that much. Like, anytime let them go play the Dodgers and we'll see how they do. Okay. I think the Braves can get better at the deadline. I think they can force the issue and we'll see. We'll see. Blake asked a really good question, one that I meant to hit on. Do you think Nacho will come up this year? I think if Orlando Arcia was to get hurt, yes. But the fact is, as good as Nacho is doing, I don't know how much offense he's going to give you. I don't know how much offense he's going to give you while losing Orlando's defense, right? That was the whole reason Orlando was given the starting job over Vaughn Grissom, was because Grissom, his defense lacked tremendously, right? So they gave that position to Orlando because Orlando played sound defense. And I don't know enough about Nacho to say that that's going to be a huge improvement. I could be wrong, and I'm fully okay with being wrong. I just think that when it comes to where we are right now, I think we're a bit away from Nacho. If anything, I think Nacho very well may be a trade piece, because if I'm looking at the Braves as an organization, Nacho's up there. He's up there, and I think he's someone that the Braves are going to view as something they can let go of if it means getting a good bat or a starting pitcher or a reliever or whatever can help this team win now, right? It's the circle of life, right? So, I mean, I think that, Nacho could come up, but I also don't want to guarantee anything. Blair McBride, unfortunately, I don't think they can win the NL East. The Phillies are too good this year, and the Braves keep losing games to garbage teams they should be sweeping. I hear you. But again, long season. We've been in much worse situations and somehow came out on top every other year. We've seen the Mets crumble. The Phillies are great. But if a couple of their guys get hurt, a lot of things can happen. Just a lot of things, a lot of intangibles can happen. I'm not rooting for anybody to get hurt. I'm just saying we've seen our fair share of injuries this year. I don't know that the Phillies have. So we'll see how it goes. Yasuke says, I think this team will go on a run. It's just a matter of time. I agree. DP says, Ozuna is amazing. Many Braves fans wanted him gone after off-field troubles. I have always been pro Ozuna. I got to be honest with you. I wasn't. I was not. I'm not going to say I was calling for his job, but there was a time where Ozuna, it didn't make sense to keep him, in my opinion. It just didn't. If we could have traded him, I was all for it. Let somebody else pay him, right, and get something out of it. And I'm glad I was wrong. Ozuna has turned it around, and that brings me to my list of other topics for tonight. How is Marcell Ozuna not already in the All-Star game? What is going on right now? Are we watching the same games? Ozuna is the only reason the offense has been somewhat consistent this year, and he's not in the All-Star game. The dude had the Triple Crown the other day. How is he not in the All-Star? Can someone please tell me how is he not in the All-Star game? If you're out there and you haven't voted, if the voting is still going on, I don't even know, go out there and vote. Just go out there and vote and do it. That dude should be in the All-Star game. Hopefully he gets picked. It's ridiculous. I don't put a lot of value into the All-Star game anymore, just because of stuff like this. Like, it was nice to see how many Braves were in the All-Star game, but I look at it now and I'm like, look how Bryce Elder ended his season last year, right? And now Ozuna's not even selected as of this point, and it is what it is. AJ Minter may be returning soon. Daysbel Hernandez was optioned today. That was nice to see, just because it seems like AJ Minter is on the cusp of coming back. We are waiting on something official, but time will tell. The other thing I wanted to talk about, Ian Anderson is looming. If you don't know who Ian Anderson is, let me remind you, he was on the World Series team back in 2021. He pitched, I believe it was Game 4 of the World Series. Only pitched about 4 innings, but he was a part of that team, and he was one of the potential future arms of the starting rotation for the Braves, and he just has not, just has not been able to stay healthy. He had his 3rd rehab stint today, 3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 runs, 1 walk, and 1 strikeout. So look, I'm not saying that Ian is going to come back and going to be great or any of that, but hopefully he does. We're going to answer a few more comments, and then we're going to get out of here, so make sure to get them in. Krusty, I know that Shohei's going to be the starting DH. I get all that. But Ozuna has been better, in my opinion. He's been better. Nicholas says, wonder how long before Nacho gets called up. I think it's a ways away. I think, you got to beat Orlando for the job, and as long as Orlando is hitting the ball at all and playing sound defense, I think that he's going to be around. Yasuke says, salute to Ozuna. He's been playing great this year. Agreed. Mass Boost says, Minter was supposed to pitch today and was supposed to be done rehabbing after today. So, yeah, he's right around the corner, right? Nicholas says, Braves need to trade Jesse Franklin. Okay, I should have done it when he had value. Well, that's the thing, right? We tend to keep guys preferably even until they don't have value, right? Remember when we could have traded Christian Pache and got just about anybody back in the day. I think we ended up trading him in the Matt Olson deal, if I'm not mistaken. But he could have landed us a lot at one time. We held him. Him and Drew Waters both. We held him. And it got to the point where it's like, do they have value anymore? Jesse Franklin maybe is falling into that same category. That's why I think Nacho could be a trade piece, right? As good as he's doing, sell high, right? I saw somebody, I'm not going to say who, throw around the idea of trading Ronaldo Lopez the other day. And to be honest with you, I'm not going to say I hate it. I'm not saying they need to do it, but I don't hate the idea because Ronaldo Lopez is pitching better than he ever has, probably better than he ever will, and you could definitely get something for him. I don't think you could get another starting pitcher, though. I think if you're trading a team a starting pitcher, you're not going to get one back at the trade deadline. But if you traded him and you were able to get 2 bats and then you traded somebody else for a starting pitcher, maybe it's worth it. I don't know. I think they're going to keep him, though. That just is what makes sense to me. I'd be surprised if they were to alter their plans so much at that point. But that is what it is. So, guys, I really appreciate you being here tonight. Thank you for being a part of the channel. Thank you for being in the comment section all night. If you would, on the way out, please do like the video. It really does help us getting this out there and getting it to other fans. And if you're out there, I know we got some new subscribers in the chat. Tell your friends about us. We're an ever-growing channel. We want you to be a part of the community, and we want you to be a part of the Atlanta Braves fan base. We try to be a part of that and be here with you guys. So again, appreciate you being here. And again, please do like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell for notifications. And as always, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time right here at On Deck.
Baseball fans, make sure you like and share this video and subscribe to this channel. As always, thank you for your support.